Good morning, patrons. Good morning. Let's talk real quick. I'm going to keep it short today. Sorry I missed you yesterday. Had to pick up my mother from the Atlanta airport and drive her to Montgomery, Alabama, which is 2.5 hours away, and then come right back. So I had a 5-hour round trip yesterday and was exhausted by the time I got done with everything else. But yesterday, something fascinating happened. Facebook banned Alex Jones finally, Paul Joseph Watson, a couple of other prominent right-wingers, and lumped in with the hate speech of the far-right, alt-right people who were banned was Louis Farrakhan. Now, if you follow me any significant amount of time, or any amount of time at all, you know that I'm not a supporter or fan of Louis Farrakhan. And I honestly wasn't going to say anything about him getting banned because I really don't care. To be honest with you, I honestly do not care about Farrakhan. You guys see all my books on the ground. I'm in the process of moving and rearranging. I honestly don't care about Louis Farrakhan getting banned, with one minor exception. Well, let me start with why I don't care. I think Louis Farrakhan is a bigot. He's a homophobic, xenophobic, anti-Semitic bigot. And he's also, quiet as it's kept, one of the reasons we don't have Malcolm X with us now. Malcolm, who emerged from the Nation of Islam to become more of an internationalist, more of a humanist, the same brilliant Malcolm whose eyes were just open to the beauty of humanity as a whole. Excuse me. So for all those reasons, I've never been a supporter of Louis Farrakhan. But you can't. Two things. Number one, Louis Farrakhan has done a lot in the black community. So he proves the case that you could be a shitty person and do good things, right? That doesn't absolve him from his bigotry at all. And I still don't care that he was banned. But I want to place this conversation in proper context. A lot of black people have been brought out of different types of economic, social, and other types of bondage, drug addiction. I mean, the Nation of Islam, for all the things that you may think negatively about it, has been a net positive influence in the black community. And there's nobody who could say otherwise. I don't care what anybody says. It absolutely has. It's just a shame that it's headed up by a moron and a bigot like Louis Farrakhan. He's not a moron, but he's certainly a bigot. Yeah. So I wanted to set that up so that you understand there's a complicated relationship that Louis Farrakhan has with the black community, and that we, the black community, have with Louis Farrakhan, particularly those of us who are actually left-leaning, progressive, liberal. And those things, when I say those things, I actually want to get more specific. It's not even about our political identification so much as it is about our worldview and the view that all of us are literally created equal, that no matter who you are, who you love, where you're from, you should be given the same rights and the same access to rights, the same freedoms and the same privileges. And those of us, who are liberal, progressive, leftist, socialists, we firmly believe in the liberation of all people, which is why I'm disappointed more so that Malcolm is not here, because Malcolm at the end became about the liberation of all people and not just black people. There's so much richness there that we could discuss about how on the backs of black Americans, specifically black Americans, comes the liberation of so many people. And there's a role that the Nation of Islam has played in that historically, a net positive role. But Louis Farrakhan remains a bigot and a demagogue. So that's why I really didn't care that he got banned, with one exception. I'm laying the case, the foundation for the exception. The exception is this. As bad as Louis Farrakhan is, he is still a reaction to white supremacy. The worst of the black community in the United States of America, no matter how you categorize it, no matter how bad it is a reaction to white supremacy, which has all of us bound. It even has white people bound, particularly white impoverished people. You know what I mean? White supremacy is a system. It is a ubiquitous system. It is everywhere. It wraps around everything. It saturates all of society, not just American society. All of this global society is inundated with the evils of white supremacy, and there are reactions to white supremacy that don't get it right. And Louis Farrakhan is one of those reactions to white supremacy that did not get it right. And so it's difficult for me to lump him in with white supremacists because he is a reaction to white supremacy, even if he is a far-right conservative reaction to white supremacy, one that is anti-Semitic, one that is homophobic, one that is xenophobic. It is still a reaction to white supremacy. This does not absolve him of all the things that I believe that he's done wrong and said wrong. Particularly, he hasn't actually done a lot of wrong. Like he has definitely spoken as a demagogue and probably encouraged other people, but he's kept his hands clean. You know how that works. Leaders rarely get their hands dirty. But I do have a small, difficult time, a brief pause and hesitation seeing him lumped in with white supremacy. But what you do betrays you, right? He may not be a white supremacist, obviously, but if you are in the same vein, if you spew the same hatred, and the only people you don't target with your hatred is black people, but you still have on every other lane, you have the same freaking level of hatred and vitriol towards other marginalized groups, it's difficult not difficult, I'm just not going to stand up and fight for you. So it's kind of an awkward situation where it is kind of stupid to see him lumped in with white supremacists, but, he is a bigot. And that matters, man. Listen, I want to drill down on something else. It is very difficult in the black community to talk bad about Louis Farrakhan for several reasons, not because of only because of the positive things he's done. And he represents an organization that no matter what you say about him, they have been a net benefit, a net positive to the black community. But it's also difficult because homophobia does run rampant in the black community. Xenophobia in black Americans, if you look at the ADOS movement, I mean, it is easy to scapegoat. Every community has the tendency to scapegoat their problems through the otherification through otherification. And so it's difficult to talk about Louis Farrakhan and the black community in a negative light because a lot of us agree with him. And we just at sundry times overcome that level of bigotry, right? There's a lot of homophobic black people, particularly those not just associated with the Nation of Islam, but with the Christian church. There's a conservative vein in the black community. But what happens on a regular basis in the black community is that because of our oppression in this country, our historic oppression in this country, we have the ability to transcend our own bigotry, even if it's just momentarily at a moment significant where it's like time to vote, right? Or it's time for us to give our opinion, or they want to know what we think about like gay rights. You have black people who preach against homosexuality every Sunday, and then on Monday they will vote, or Tuesday rather, they will vote in favor of gay rights. Because where they have a religious conservative vein that is steeped in homophobia, they still have a socially conscious experience with America that tells them that even though as a religious person I may be homophobic, they won't say that, but they are, even though I may be homophobic, I don't want to see anybody segregated or discriminated against in this country. And so I say, I'm saying a lot, but ultimately that's one of the reasons it's difficult, because you're going to see a lot of black people upset about Louis Farrakhan being banned. I'm not one of them. I just understand the tenuous and difficult relationship that we have with the conservative reaction to white supremacy. There's always going to be a conservative reaction from the black community to white supremacy. And Louis Farrakhan was just one of the representatives, just one of the many groups. The Nation of Islam, just one of many groups. The Hotep nationalist movement is another group that is a conservative reaction to white supremacy. The ADOS movement, whether they want to admit it or not, they are a conservative reaction to white supremacy. And a conservative, and again, this is not just about labels, mind you. It is about what you do and what you actually believe. You could drop the labels altogether and look at me and say, okay, forget about Ben being a progressive. Ben will fight for the human rights of every single person, except Nazis. We punch Nazis. Because On the conservative side, they believe that the way to fix the problem is to pull up your pants, for women to be in their right places in the home, for the men, kings of the household to be respected, and for men to be men and women to be women. That's the way we fight back against. Yeah, so video got cut off. So that's the way we fight back against white supremacy, right? By pulling our pants up and speaking proper and being respectful, and a lot of respectability politics, but a lot of homophobia and a lot of scapegoating and blaming, not focusing on the white supremacy aspect of our struggle, which is literally the entire struggle, but focusing on like immigrants. Immigrants are the problem. No, my friend, it's actually the entire system of white supremacy that is the firewall for capitalism. But I digress. The point is, there is always going to be a conservative reaction to white supremacy, and it's very difficult for us to, in good faith, lump it in with white supremacy. We can identify how it's problematic. We should identify and challenge it and fight back against it. But to lump it in as one and the same as white supremacy, I can't do that. I can't quite do that. I will say that Louis Farrakhan is a conservative. He may never vote for a Republican, probably never will, but he believes the same thing that Republicans believe with regard to gay rights, with regard to a woman's right to choose, with regards to immigration. He believes the same thing. He's very anti-Semitic, like a lot of the right wing in this country. Louis Farrakhan is a conservative, but he is a conservative reaction to white supremacy. He is not a white supremacist. However, one last thing. This is what I've been saying, and I've been saying it for years. If the sum total of your contribution to this society parallels or supports white supremacy, then you're just as bad as white supremacy. I've been saying that for a while, so I can't make a special pleading for Louis Farrakhan. So that's why I don't really care that he got banned from Facebook. But I do care to make the distinction that while he may parallel white supremacy, we can't lump him in as a white supremacist, but I definitely won't defend his bigotry that mirrors white supremacy. All right, folks, take care. Hope that made sense. I know I wasn't really all over the place. I just chased all the tangents and tried to discuss those tangents. But anyway, talk to you soon.